17-year-old Maya Rodriguez had never seen so many white roses in her life. They cascaded down marble columns like frozen waterfalls, their petals so perfect they looked artificial in the golden afternoon light streaming through the cathedral windows. She pressed herself against the heavy oak door of St. Augustine's Cathedral, her heart hammering against her ribs as she watched the most extravagant wedding she could have ever imagined. This wasn't supposed to happen. Maya had been walking home from her job at the local coffee shop, still wearing her stained apron and carrying the day's tips in her pocket, barely $30 after an 8-hour shift. The spring rain had started suddenly, and she ducked into what she thought was just another church for shelter. Instead, she'd stumbled into what looked like a fairy tale. The bride, radiant in a gown that probably cost more than Maya's family made in 6 months, glided down the aisle toward a man in an impeccably tailored tuxedo. Maya recognized him from the local newspapers. Richard Blackstone, the tech mogul who'd made his fortune in cryptocurrency and had recently moved to their small coastal town of Millfield. His wedding had been the talk of the town for weeks. Though Maya's family certainly hadn't received an invitation, she knew she should leave. Her wet sneakers were probably dripping on the pristine marble floor, and her coffee shop uniform made her stick out like a sore thumb among the sea of designer dresses and expensive suits. But something kept her frozen in place. Maybe it was the sheer beauty of it all, or maybe it was the way the bride's smile seemed to light up the entire cathedral. Maya had never seen anything so magical. The ceremony was conducted in hushed, reverent tones, with readings from Shakespeare and Rumi. That made Maya's eyes water. She thought about her own parents, who'd had a courthouse wedding because they couldn't afford anything else. Her mother had worn a simple white dress from a department store, but she'd looked just as radiant as this millionaire's bride. Love was love, Maya thought, whether you had $30 or $30 million. As the couple exchanged vows, Maya found herself genuinely moved by their words. The groom, Richard, spoke about finding unexpected love later in life, about how his bride, Isabella, had shown him that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars but in moments of connection. Isabella's vows were equally touching, speaking about second chances and the courage to trust again after heartbreak. Maya was so caught up in the emotion of the moment that she didn't notice the security guard who had spotted her until he was already approaching. Her blood turned to ice as she saw him making his way down the side aisle, his eyes locked on her. This was it. She was about to be thrown out, probably arrested for trespassing, and her mother would have to leave work to come get her from the police station. In her panic, Maya stepped backward and collided directly with a towering arrangement of white lilies. The vase teetered for what felt like an eternity before crashing to the marble floor with a sound that echoed through the cathedral like a gunshot. Every head in the congregation turned toward her, hundreds of pairs of eyes suddenly focused on the teenage girl in the coffee-stained apron standing among the ruins of a probably $1,000 flower arrangement. The silence that followed was deafening. Maya felt her face burn with embarrassment as she looked from the shocked faces of the wedding guests to the bride and groom, who had stopped mid-ceremony to stare at her. The officiant, a distinguished man in elaborate robes, looked as if he might faint. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. "I'm so sorry," Maya whispered, but her voice carried in the perfect acoustics of the cathedral. It was raining and She couldn't finish the sentence. How could she explain that she'd been so mesmerized by their love story? That she'd forgotten she was an intruder? The security guard reached her then, his hand closing firmly but not unkindly on her arm. "Come on, miss," he said quietly. "Let's not make this worse." But as he began to escort her toward the exit, something unexpected happened. "Wait!" called a voice from the altar. It was the bride, Isabella. She had turned fully toward Maya, her veil catching the afternoon light like spun gold. "Please wait," Maya's heart was pounding so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. She looked up at Isabella, expecting anger, expecting to be lectured about respect and proper behavior. Instead, she saw something that surprised her: curiosity, and perhaps even a hint of kindness. "What's your name?" Isabella asked, her voice carrying clearly through the cathedral. "Maya," she managed to croak out. "Maya Rodriguez. I'm really sorry about the flowers. I'll pay for them, I promise." Even as she said it, she knew it was impossible. The arrangement probably cost more than she made in a month. Isabella studied her for a long moment, and Maya could feel the weight of hundreds of guests watching this exchange. She wanted to disappear, to sink through the marble floor and never be seen again. This was supposed to be the most important day of Isabella's life, and Maya had ruined it with her clumsiness and her inability to mind her own business. But then, Isabella did something that no one in that cathedral, least of all Maya, could have predicted. "She's not leaving," Isabella announced, her voice ringing with unexpected authority through the hushed cathedral. "She's staying for the ceremony." A collective gasp rose from the assembled guests. Richard looked at his bride with a mixture of surprise and admiration, while the officiant appeared to be having some sort of internal debate about wedding protocol. The security guard's grip on Maya's arm loosened slightly, confusion replacing his professional efficiency. Maya felt as if the ground had shifted beneath her feet. "Ma'am, I really should go," she stammered. "I've already caused enough trouble." "Nonsense," Isabella said, gathering up her train and taking a step down from the altar. "You were crying during our vows. I saw you." She paused, her gaze softening. "When was the last time someone your age chose to stay for a wedding ceremony instead of running away from it?" The question hung in the air. Maya's mouth opened and closed wordlessly. She thought about all the weddings she'd seen in movies, all the times her friends complained about having to attend family ceremonies. Isabella was right. What 17-year-old voluntarily watched strangers get married? Richard cleared his throat gently. "Isabella, darling, are you sure about this? Our guests, Isabella interrupted with a smile, are about to witness something beautiful." She looked directly at Maya again. "I think you stumbled in here for a reason. Sometimes the universe has its own plans." Maya glanced around at the sea of faces staring at her. Some looked annoyed, others curious, and a few seemed genuinely amused by the turn of events. She recognized some people from town: the mayor's wife, the bank president, several local business owners. These were people who wouldn't normally give her a second glance on the street, and now she was the center of their attention at the social event of the year. "I don't have proper clothes," Maya whispered, gesturing to her uniform. Isabella's smile widened. "You're perfectly dressed for what matters most, witnessing love." She turned to address the entire congregation. "This young woman reminded me of something important just now. Love isn't about perfect arrangements or flawless ceremonies. It's about unexpected moments, about hearts that are open enough to be moved by joy, even when it belongs to strangers." She reached out her hand toward Maya. "Would you do us the honor of being our witness? Not legally, of course. We have that covered. But in the truest sense of the word?" Maya looked at the extended hand, then at Richard, who was now smiling broadly at his bride's spontaneous gesture. The officiant had apparently decided to go with the flow, nodding encouragingly. Even some of the guests were beginning to smile, caught up in the unexpected warmth of the moment. "I don't understand," Maya said softly. "Neither do I, completely," Isabella admitted. "But I've learned to trust my instincts, and every instinct I have is telling me that you belong here right now." She paused. "Besides, you have excellent taste in weddings to crash." That got a genuine laugh from several guests, and Maya felt some of the tension leave her shoulders. Slowly, As if in a dream, she reached out and took Isabella's hand. The bride's fingers were warm and steady, her grip surprisingly strong. "Sarah," Isabella called to someone in the front row. "Could you make room for Maya, please?" A woman in an elegant navy dress immediately slid over, patting the space beside her on the pew. "Of course, darling. Come sit with us, Maya." As Maya walked toward the front of the cathedral, she caught fragments of whispered conversations. "How extraordinary. Never seen anything like it. That's the Blackstone bride for you. Such a kind gesture." She settled into the pew between Sarah and an elderly gentleman who introduced himself as Isabella's uncle with a warm smile. From this vantage point, she could see everything: the intricate beadwork on Isabella's dress, the way Richard's eyes never left his bride's face, the delicate tremor in the bride's hands that spoke of genuine emotion rather than nerves. The ceremony resumed with an energy that hadn't been there before. Perhaps it was the spontaneity of the moment, or perhaps it was Isabella's reminder about what truly mattered, but there was a new warmth in the cathedral. Guests leaned forward slightly, smiling more freely, and even the officiant seemed more animated as he spoke about love's power to surprise and transform. When the couple exchanged rings, Maya found herself tearing up again. But this time she wasn't watching from the shadows. She was part of it, invited into this circle of celebration. Isabella caught her eye during the ring exchange and winked, causing Maya to smile through her tears. The kiss that sealed the marriage was met with thunderous applause, and as the new Mr. and Mrs. Blackstone walked back down the aisle together, Isabella paused at Maya's pew. "Thank you," she said simply, "for reminding me what's really important." "Thank you," Maya replied. "For the kindness?" "Oh, we're not done yet," Isabella said with a mischievous glint in her eye. "You don't think I'm letting you miss the reception, do you?" Maya's eyes widened. "Oh no, I couldn't possibly." "You absolutely could and you absolutely will," Isabella said firmly. "Sarah, could you take Maya to the house? I think she's about my size when I was her age. Help her find something appropriate for the party." Sarah nodded enthusiastically. "It would be my pleasure. I was just telling my husband earlier that this wedding needed a little magic, and here you are." As the wedding party filed out of the cathedral for photographs, Sarah linked her arm through Maya's. "Come on, dear. Let's get you ready for a party you'll never forget." Walking out of the cathedral into the golden afternoon sun, Maya felt as if she'd stepped into someone else's life. The rain had stopped, and everything looked washed clean and bright. She thought about her mother, who would be getting home from her double shift at the nursing home soon. She'd have to call and explain why she was late. Though how could she possibly explain this? "Sarah?" she asked as they walked toward a sleek black car. "Why is Isabella being so kind to me?" Sarah smiled. "Because that's who she is. But also, I think, because she recognizes something in you." She paused. "Isabella wasn't always wealthy, you know. She grew up in a small town not unlike this one, working jobs to help support her family. She sees herself in you, I think." As they drove toward the Blackstone estate, Maya pressed her face to the window, watching the town she'd lived in all her life roll by. Everything looked the same, but she felt fundamentally changed. In the space of an hour, she'd gone from coffee, shop employee to wedding guest at the event of the year. But more than that, she'd witnessed something rare. True kindness from a stranger, offered without expectation or condition. Whatever happened at the reception, Maya knew this day would stay with her forever. The Blackstone estate took Maya's breath away. Sprawling across 50 acres of manicured lawns and gardens, the house itself looked like something out of a European fairy tale, all stone and ivy and tall windows that caught the late afternoon sun. As Sarah's car wound up the circular drive, Maya counted at least 3 separate gardens, a fountain that had to be 20 feet tall, and what looked like a small vineyard in the distance. It's overwhelming the first time you see it, Sarah said, noticing Maya's expression. Richard bought it from an old timber baron's family and spent 2 years restoring it. Isabella added all the gardens. She has quite the green thumb. They pulled up to a side entrance, where Sarah led Maya through a mudroom that was bigger than her family's entire kitchen. The house smelled of flowers and old wood, and something indefinably elegant that Maya couldn't identify. Persian rugs covered. Gleaming hardwood floors and original oil paintings lined the walls. Isabella's room is upstairs, Sarah explained, leading Maya up a curved staircase. She specifically asked me to help you find something special to wear. Isabella's walk-in closet was the size of Maya's bedroom, lined with dresses in every color imaginable. Sarah ran her fingers along the hanging garments with practiced ease, pulling out several options. Isabella was right about you being her size, Sarah mused, holding up a deep blue dress with delicate silver embroidery. This might work beautifully with your coloring. Maya touched the fabric reverently. It felt like liquid silk beneath her fingers. I've never worn anything this expensive, she admitted. Well, tonight's a night for firsts, Sarah said warmly. There's a bathroom through there where you can change, and I'll see what I can do about shoes. Alone in the marble bathroom, Maya stared at her reflection. Her hair was still damp from the rain, and she had a small coffee stain on her cheek from work. She looked exactly like what she was, a working-class teenager who had stumbled into a world far beyond her experience. The blue dress fit perfectly, transforming her reflection into someone she barely recognized. The color brought out her eyes, and the cut was sophisticated without being too mature. When she emerged from the bathroom, Sarah had laid out delicate silver sandals and a matching wrap. "Oh, Maya," Sarah breathed. "You look absolutely radiant." Maya turned toward the full-length mirror and gasped. The girl looking back at her could have stepped off the pages of a magazine, but more than that, she looked confident, elegant, like she belonged in this world. "Now let's do something with that beautiful hair of yours," Sarah said, guiding Maya to Isabella's vanity. With quick, expert movements, she arranged Maya's dark curls into an elegant updo, leaving a few tendrils to frame her face. A touch of lip gloss and mascara completed the transformation. By the time they made their way downstairs to the reception, the party was in full swing. The entire back terrace had been transformed into an outdoor ballroom with string lights, creating a canopy of stars overhead. Round tables draped in white linen dotted the space, each centered with arrangements of white roses and greenery. A 12-piece orchestra played from a raised platform, and couples swayed on the dance floor that had been laid over the stone patio. Maya felt a moment of panic as she surveyed the elegantly dressed guests. Even transformed by Isabella's dress and Sarah's ministrations, she worried that she didn't truly belong here. But then she spotted Isabella across the crowd, radiant in her wedding gown, and the bride's face lit up when their eyes met. "Maya!" Isabella called, making her way over, with Richard in tow. "Oh my goodness, you look absolutely stunning. Doesn't she look beautiful, Richard?" Richard, who had seemed somewhat bewildered by his wife's impulsive invitation earlier, smiled warmly. "Absolutely radiant, and I want to thank you, Maya, for bringing such joy to our ceremony. Isabella couldn't stop talking about you during photos." "I still can't believe how kind you're being," Maya said, feeling overwhelmed again. "Sometimes kindness is its own reward," Isabella replied. "But I have to confess, I had an ulterior motive for inviting you to stay." She paused dramatically. "I wanted to hear your story. A 17-year-old who gets genuinely moved by strangers' wedding vows? There's definitely a story there." Over dinner at the head table, Isabella had insisted Maya sit with the wedding party. Maya found herself sharing more about her life than she'd intended. She talked about working at the coffee shop to help her family make ends meet, about her dreams of going to college even though they couldn't afford it, about her parents who worked multiple jobs but still found ways to show their love for each other and their daughter. "My mom always says that being poor doesn't mean you have to be poor in spirit," Maya explained, twirling pasta around her fork. "She taught me to find beauty wherever I can, even in small things." Isabella listened, intently, asking thoughtful questions about Maya's family and her aspirations. When Maya mentioned her dream of studying journalism, Isabella's eyes lit up. "Richard, didn't you mention that the local newspaper is looking for a part-time intern?" Isabella asked her new husband. "Actually, yes," Richard replied. "The editor is a friend of mine. Maya, would you be interested in something like that?" Maya nearly choked on her water. "Are you serious?" "I mean, yes, absolutely, but I don't have any real experience." "Everyone starts somewhere," Isabella interrupted gently. "And sometimes the best journalists are the ones who come from real life, who understand what it's like for ordinary people." As the evening progressed, Maya found herself swept into conversations with guests who, she discovered, were far more interesting and down-to-earth than she'd expected. The mayor's wife turned out to be a former teacher who remembered Maya's mother from parent conferences years ago. A local business owner shared stories about his own humble beginnings, and Richard's business partner spoke passionately about the importance of giving back to the community. When the dancing began, Isabella insisted that Maya stay on the floor, introducing her to young people from other wealthy families who were surprisingly welcoming. One young man, the son of a local judge, asked her to dance and spent the entire song asking about her perspective on various social issues affecting their community. "You know," he said as the waltz ended, "you should consider running for youth council. We need voices like yours." As the night wound down and guests began to leave, Maya found herself sitting on the terrace steps with Isabella, both of them having kicked off their shoes. The bride had changed into a simpler dress for dancing, but she still glowed with happiness. "Thank you," Maya said quietly, "not just for the dress and the food and everything, but for making me feel like I mattered tonight." Isabella turned to look at her. "Maya, can I tell you something? When I was your age, I was working 2 jobs to help support my younger siblings. I used to walk past the fancy houses in our town and dream about what it would be like to live that kind of life. I thought if I just worked hard enough, if I could just make enough money, I'd finally belong somewhere." She paused, looking out over the gardens that were now lit by moonlight and party lanterns. "It took me a long time to learn that belonging isn't about money or status or wearing the right dress. It's about recognizing the worth in yourself and others, about choosing kindness over judgment, about staying open to unexpected connections." She smiled. "You belonged here tonight not because I gave you a dress, but because you have a heart that recognizes beauty and love wherever you find it." 2 weeks later, Maya started her internship at the Millfield Gazette. Her first assignment was to write about the Blackstone wedding, a piece that focused not on the lavish details, but on the unexpected moment of human connection that had touched everyone present. The story was picked up by several regional papers, and Maya received emails from readers who were moved by her perspective on kindness and community. The article led to more assignments, and by the end of the summer, she had a small scholarship fund established by an anonymous donor, though she suspected she knew who it might be. Years later, when Maya became the Gazette's youngest ever editor-in-chief, she would keep a framed photo on her desk from that magical night. In it, she and Isabella are laughing together on the terrace steps, their faces bright with joy and possibility. But more than the career opportunities or the scholarship money, Maya treasured the lesson Isabella had taught her that night, that kindness, once given freely, has a way of multiplying and returning when you least expect it. And that sometimes the most beautiful moments come from the courage to stay open to the unexpected, even when you feel like you don't belong. The wedding crasher had found more than just a party that night. She'd found a glimpse of the person she was meant to become.